Hello, this is Yazan, and today we are talking about Workshop 8, which is about refining an Excel application. You know, Excel really offers you a lot of functionality, features, and flexibility to create more polished workbook that will make it easier for you or any other user to actually navigate through the workbook. So what I'm going to show you today is how to control data entry with data validation, since a lot of times you would create a workbook or worksheet and then it will be used by another person. And to be able to eliminate or lower the human error, you want to put some data validation to your workbook or your worksheet to make sure that the entry process goes according to what you think is the best way of doing it. There's also neat features in Excel that allow you to change the navigation of the workbook and to protect the workbook or the worksheets that you have. So if it's used by a different user and you don't want them to access certain data, you can just kind of seal it. There are different data entry validation. And that validation could be, any value, a whole number. Like if you want the user to not enter like a fraction or something like that, a decimal. If you want, for example, the user to pick a value from a list, a predetermined list. To especially when it's a text. So some people a lot of times when they like typing fast, they leave typos in and so on. If you want to dictate that the entry is a date only, time only, if you want to limit the text length. So for example, if a certain cell should accept social security number, right? So you already know that there is a certain number of digits that should go in there and should not exceed that number. And on top of that, Excel allow you to create some kind of a custom validation that is more flexible. So in this example, we have an invoice, just a regular invoice that we're trying to, let me zoom in. So, just a regular invoice. You have the invoice number here, date over here. We have the therapist name, the number they're going to be used, description of the procedure, the charge per hour, how many hours that client or the customer took advantage of overused, and then the amount. We will put a subtotal on the bottom. This is the tax rate, calculate the tax, and then if there are any other charges, we will add it there, and then the total will sum all these amounts. We have another sheet over here that shows you this is the source data. So those are the therapists that we have over here. And then those are the products, okay, that we offer. Some aroma and sound therapy, the massages, mud bath, and so on. And I actually have another sheet which contains the data. Oops. Let me close this. Right, so I have another sheet within the same same folder that contains the prices. So here we have the products, the location, price, and units. So here per facial mud, for example, the price is $100. And then for other things that like aromatherapy, $75 per hour, and so on. Okay, so first of all, let's go to the invoice. So here we want to, for example, leave this right empty, or but we want to like add some kind of message to the user to tell him or her that this is like invoice number, although it's kind of quite clear, but for the purpose of exercising. So when you want to add any kind of a data control, you have to kind of determine what kind of controls you want to apply beforehand, right? So for example, we know that this is an invoice number, right? So I want to add any value, right? Because it could be, I have no idea what the invoice number would be, but I want, for example, to add a message saying here, so yeah, I mean, once you click on that, and of course it's from the data, you go to the data tab, and the toolbar, you click on the data validation, and then those are the possible options you have. So any value really doesn't have anything on the settings tab or within the settings tab, but in input message, you can put like an input message in here. Please enter the invoice number, right? Okay. And then hit OK. So here, if I'm anywhere and then click on that, I see that message showing up. So, the first validation is not quite a validation. It's more of a way to enable communication, okay? Just not to be confused. Okay, so here let's delete this one. I want this to be date validation, obviously, right? So again, clicked on this cell, D7, on the data tab. I go to data validation, and if you click on that drop down, these are the options, right? I click on data validation on the or within the settings tab. I want to choose the date, and now, right, it tells me, give me now the options here, obviously, that they did not show up when I had the any value. So when I was in the any value, none of these options were available. Once you click on the date, you can you see more options here. So the first one will ask you like date between something or something. The kind of validation I want is I don't want to allow the user to enter a previous date. Like, so if it's an invoice, you can either put today's date or like a future date, right? So I want to say greater than, right? Greater than, and then start date, or greater than and equal. So greater than or equal, so it could be today's date or something in the future, and it will be like equal to now, right? So now will bring me the today's date. Okay, so oh, and I want to add like a message to it, right? So I want to add also a message to it. So go here, the data validation. I want the input message. So here, input message, like when the user click on that cell, that will be the input message. So it will be title will be valid. So valid date, please enter either today's date or a future date. The error, in case that the user did actually put a value that is like not allowed, like yesterday's date, there will be error alert, and I will call this date error, and then the message will be, you are not allowed to enter a previous date. Okay, And then you can see that within the error tab, the style is we have options here. So either you stop it, which means like if I enter a previous date, it will not allow me to do so, and will not allow the value. Warning, so it will not let me enter the value itself, right? No way to enter the value. It will stop it. Warning is it will take it, but it will show a warning message that, like, okay, for example, you have entered a previous date. And I will show you all of these. So click on stop first and hit OK. So obviously when you click on it, you see the message, please enter either today's date or future date. So today's date is the 13th. So it'll be 10/13/2015. Okay, so it says you are not allowed to enter a previous date. Let's say why it did not take this date. Okay, let's say like 10/14/2015. It took it, right? And I think because I put now instead of today, right? So let's go back here, data validation. Instead of greater than or equal, let's put today. I think because this also, so when you enter the date, it will enter that as 10/14/2015, and then the time will be like 12 a.m., right? Because I put now. And today will be just the day only. Okay, so let's do this again. I'm deleting this 10/13/2015. Right, it took it. So this is another thing to pay attention to. So if you put now brings the date and the time. If you put today, it brings only the date for you. Okay. So to show you, like, for example, the same thing, if I want to put like a previous date, 10/10/2015, it will not take it. So this will be date error, and it will not allow you to enter that value, and it tells you you're not allowed to enter previous date. This is the message that I just put in there, and you can either retry, cancel, or ask for help. So we hit just cancel. What if you want to change that and put like a warning message? It will allow you to enter a previous date, but it will show you like a warning message. So like that, will you go to the data validation and the error alert, you change the style from stop to warning. Okay, and you can see that you have that warning symbol there. And now if I put 10/10/2015, hit enter, see, it will tell you, would you like to continue with this? This is a warning message. And if you said yes, it will accept the new value, although it showed that warning message. The last option would be to put that information. It just information. If you put that previous date, so I hit OK. So I'll put 10/01/2015. It will just show me previous like information message that you're not allowed to enter previous date. Well, I know that, I want to keep it as it is. Anyways, so this is the date validation. Very, very, very helpful, especially when you use the worksheet with different people that certain criteria that you want to apply to that date cell, so people will not be freely entering any value they want. For the therapist, so I know that I have here a list of therapists. So instead of letting the user every time enter the name of that therapist, and make it vulnerable to typos and so on, we're just going to create a list out of it. So click on the cell, again on the data tab, the data validation. Now the new type I want would be a list. So it will be a predetermined list, and then the source of that list will be these these three different values, right? So I mean, and it's kind of therapist name list. So I already named these. I have a named range for it. Input message would be, for example, choose a therapist from the drop down list. Okay, and I hit okay. So here you can see when I click on this cell, it will give me that input message, and then there will be a drop down arrow, and I can choose one of these guys. It's really cool and neat, right? Room number, we'll leave this to be kind of, let's make it decimal, right? So let's assume that room numbers only allow decimal values. So go to data validation settings. I'm going to put like decimal, so you only allow to have decimal. And for example, the minimum value is 0. The maximum value is 9999. And I'll make the input message is enter the room number, and error alert, I would say, for example, room number are only decimals, right? Something like that. So when you click on it, you see the input message. So if you put 121, hit enter, it takes it. If you, for example, trying to put A 212, hit enter, it will not allow you to do this and give you the error message saying, you're only allowed to enter decimals. So if hit retry, let's put 131. Okay, so this is the code. So we have 4 different data validation types over here. Quite neat, right? Make it more robust. And then over here, we want to pull one of these products. So it will be a drop down, of course, because we only have those certain options. And if you kind of highlight it, select the whole thing, it will show that it's a named range, it's product list. And then we want to bring this value from the other worksheet, which is our workbook, which is price list. So here we have a price list. So obviously we have to do a VLOOKUP or match an index. Okay, so first of all, let's do the validation here, and then it will be data validation. I will be using a list and the source of my list, or honestly, you don't have to do that since it's a name range. If you hit F3, show you all the named ranges. So it's I'm gonna pull from the product list and hit OK. And then input message will be choose from the drop down, right? And here, for example, error, you should pick a value from the drop down. Why would I do that? Is like if like someone tried to enter that value manually, it will show them that error message. And let's make it warning just in case. All right. So if I try to type something, we'll say like test, it will give me that warning message, say like, oh, you should pick a value from the drop down. So I would know like, oh, there's a drop down list, right? And then I will choose one of the products. Now, what we're trying to do is to now pull the charge per hour. So over here, I'm just gonna put a VLOOKUP, right? A VLOOKUP, and then in the VLOOKUP, as we know that the lookup value will be anything from here. The table array will be coming from a different workbook. So this is the table array, right? And the column index that I'm gonna be pulling from, I think it's number 3, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, number 3. and I want to be that will be an exact value. So I'll have to put a false to give me the exact value and hit OK. So awesome. So now here I'm pulling the massage deep tissue. Let's see if it's that right thing. Where is it at? Massage deep tissue. It's 125, so it's pulling the right value from a different workbook for me. You can autofill the data validation. So if you fill this, obviously it will, well, let's first delete it and then autofill. So let's Control Z, go back. Okay, let's delete this and then autofill first. Okay, so if you choose anything from here, it should pull the value of it, right? And so on. Now the problem, if I delete it, I have an error message, so I don't want to see the error message. What would I do? Simply, I would put F error. If this value is error, just leave it empty. Cool? Awesome. All right, so here, if you put this, brings you the value, and so on, right? And then I want to autofill this. Okay, now whatever you choose, you can see that the value will be reflected and so on, right? Let's choose different stuff. Just so obviously it's working perfectly, really neat. Not a lot of people actually, I think they know that you can use Excel as like, you know, as an invoice system, right? So here we pull in the different charges and so on. And then here, the hours will be entered manually. So for example, we have 1 over here, 2, 3. I'm just putting it randomly, 1, 2, 3, right? What is over here is that we multiply the charge by the quantity, right? So, but you can see like if you delete this, you get 0, which is good. But I want to also make sure that if there's an error, right, I won't pull it. So if I delete both these, so I get zeros, which is cool. Let's try to see. I think I saw an error message previously. So just in case, if there is an error, leave this empty. Cool. And I want to autofill the whole thing. Awesome, right? So here, let's pull this again. Oh, I guess I deleted this by mistake. Right, okay. And then I just put an hour here and so on. Or steam bath, just like one quantity or whatever. Subtotal is just sum of those previous values. You can see there's a sum function over here. And sales tax is whatever the value over here multiplied by sales tax. And here, if you want to add like others, like okay, like $50 like membership fees, right? And then the total will be adding those the subtotal before tax, the taxes, and then any other charges, and so on. So this was a quick way to show you how to create an invoice. Another cool thing I would like to show you is like, you know, for navigation, for example, you want to say show like source data, right? Or show like lists, whatever, and here for them show charges, right? And here, like, you can create a hyperlink out of this to go to like the source data worksheet and so on. So over here, I can just right click on it and say like, I want to add a hyperlink. And that when you click on the hyperlink, you have this pop-up window that will ask you, would you, where would you like that hyperlink to be, like, you know, linking to, right? So I want place with this document, so I know that there's another worksheet that is called source data, so I want it to be, you know, pointing there. You can make it like, you know, point to the product list or therapist name list in case like you want to add another to the list and so on. So hit OK. And obviously when you click on it, it takes you to the worksheet without having to click on it. And I just want to test something like, what if I hide this? Pull it. Yeah, the problem if you hide it, it doesn't pull it. So let's not do that. I want to unhide the source data. Let's keep it as it is. So if you click on it, it brings you here. If I want to go back to the invoice, I can like put another hyperlinks, call it invoice. Click on it, right-click, oops, right-click, and put like hyperlink, go back to the invoice and hit OK. Click on the invoice, brings you back here. So if I want to show charges, I want this to be linking me to this workbook that has the different products and the prices. It's called Class Exercise 9.3 Data Validation, blah, blah, blah. So let's create the hyperlink, right-click on it, hyperlink, and exist file or web page, yes. So if this is the same folder that I have in, all the files within the folder. So it's okay. It's prices, data validation prices. Hit OK on it, and then you click. It'll bring you this back. Even if you close the workbook and then you click on the hyperlink, it actually opens that workbook for you. So this is really neat, right? And also you can here create another like a hyperlink as an invoice to bring you back to the invoice, and right-click on it, hyperlink, current folder, so it's data validation invoice. But I'm afraid if I click on it, it will create like a new one. Let's see. Click on it. If I click back, oh, brings it back here. Cool, awesome. So show charges, invoice, so on. If you move that file from that folder, I think that the link will break, obviously, like anything else. So you have to make sure that when you create those links that you keep the files within the same folder and so on. So this was a quick demonstration, a quick example to how to create invoice via Excel, and then how to apply data validations, hyperlinks and stuff. Other cool things, like if you wanted to apply it to this, is for example, you want the grid lines to go away. So in the page layout, you can click on these to remove the grid lines. Obviously, it looks kind of more professional. If you want to remove the headings as well, it will take the headings away. Those are really cool things. You can see that I still can, like, for example, click on different parts of the Excel and enter whatever values I want. So what if you want to limit the user of not being able to click anywhere except the cells that they're gonna use? So simply we can lock cells. So if you go to format, we have something here in the protection called a protect sheet or lock cells, right? So if you hit on lock cells, I think I did not do it right. So if you click on the protect sheet, it will give you a list of what kind of a protection you can apply to your workbook, like and add like a password for it. So when you save it and give it to someone else, they can't really modify the things that you created. So here, allow all users of this worksheet to, the by default is select locked cells. So I don't want them to be able to select locked cells. I want them to be able to select unlocked cells, right? So I hit OK. So actually, we want to do the opposite. Sorry, a little bit confusing, right? So why would we want to do the opposite? So I want to select, for example, these values, right? So I'm holding the control key, click on this, click on this, click on this. These cells, these cells, these cells, I don't want them to, well, actually I don't want them to play with that. Oops, let's do this again. So the user will be able to enter invoice number, date, choose a therapist, choose a room, choose a different product, put the quantity, but I don't want them to play with the charge per hour or the amount because this is coming from somewhere else. Enter any other charges, right? So those cells, I want them to be, so here it kind of toggles between lock and unlock. If you click on this, it will, click on these, it will be unlocked, right? So, and then I go to protect sheet, and here I will keep select unlocked cells. So allow all users of this workbook, of this worksheet to select unlock cells. Other stuff, I don't want them to be able to. So click OK. Now I can't really click anyway. I'm trying to click outside these cells. I can't. I only can click on those cells that are unlocked. I can't click anywhere here. But I can click here, right? And you can't choose anything. So now it's kind of locked. But I forgot to also unlock these, right? So let's do this again. Unprotect sheet. So I'm holding the control key, click on the first hyperlink, second hyperlink, go to the format. Within the protection, I'm gonna unlock these, right? And then the protection sheet, now I'm gonna apply a password. Why would I do that? So you lock it, but then anyone can come back and unlock it. So apply the password so people will not be able to modify that worksheet unless they have the password you have. Like 123, I put over here and hit OK. Re-enter the password 123, hit OK. Okay, awesome. So I cannot click on anywhere, like I can't click on invoice or date and anything, but I can click on those like input cells, let's call them, that ticks boxes or cells that expect an entry value. We unlock those two, so now these should work. So if I click on this, these work. Awesome. Show charges work in a great way. Go back to invoice. All right. I can't change this because you should not be able to enter these, right? These are pulled by a VLOOKUP, and then hours, you can change these. So I can hit 6, for example, here, change the values. You cannot click on subtotal because this is just the sum of the cells above it. And then, well, maybe you want to change tax rate, but let's forget about it for now. You can't change this because this is a kind of auto-populated as the sales tax by the subtotal, and you can change the other. So for example, I can put 100 here, and I can't change anything on the total. Quite neat, right? It'll honestly look very professional, and you can give it to anyone, like maybe front desk people, and the only job is to do data entry, not to play with the same worksheet, with the worksheet itself, and modify it and change it the way you want. So this was a quick example on data validation and how to apply certain controls to your worksheet to make it more polished and more professional looking. Obviously, this looks really great with input messages, with validations, with hyperlinks, with locking unused cells and so on, put in a password so people cannot change the structure and the format of your worksheet, and so on. Well, thank you for watching this video. We're definitely going to be more coming.